So I'm going to talk about one of the successes and one of the challenges that I've seen here in Moldova, now being 1 year in as a volunteer in country. And it's with an example of a man who came in to help acquire more equipment and more supplies for his quail incubator in a village nearby. So this man has been working for 6 years on producing quail meat and quail eggs within his community. And he's seen recently that this business has actually taken off, this niche has taken off in Chisinau, and he wanted to help build it up in the southern region of Moldova to kind of own his own territory. So he came into our incubator because he heard about financial grant assistance that we receive from several organizations from Chisinau and the surrounding areas. So he came into our offices and he came in with a boatload of documentation and was eager to start his project. And over the course of about 2 to 3 weeks, we actually finished the project from step 1 to step 5, step 6. And it was awesome. I mean, it was great to see his initiative. He was a very nice man. He was just prepared and ready to answer all questions. And for the things that he didn't know, he asked more questions. So it was an absolute pleasure to work with him. And about 3 weeks after we submitted his project, we got the good news that he ended up winning his project, and it gave his quail incubator about $3,000 worth of equipment to continually produce more eggs, to incubate quails faster. And for us, it was a huge success. But in comes the challenge. And it's not a challenge with his project, but just in what he responded to winning this grant. And he told my business partner and I that although he had won the project on paper, he didn't think that he was going to receive $1 or any of the equipment that he had won. And that's the problem, and that's the challenge that I've faced within my first year, not only with his project, but with all projects that I've worked on. Is it starts with a lack of trust, and it's defeating at times because I have a lot of energy, I have a lot of motivation to help and to point people in the right direction, but if they don't believe in me, or if they don't want to believe in me, then I can't be of any use. So that lack of trust doesn't only exist from individual to individual, or let's say individual to American, or individual to foreigner, but it's on a level of business and government and just in the country itself that is very defeating at times because, as volunteers, we want to do everything in our power to set people up for success. But, with the lack of trust in, the system in general, just the system that is Moldova in general, it's very hard to make strides. The other thing that's kind of come to my mind in terms of a challenge that I see is that a lot of us have been looking to build these long-term solutions for Moldova, for our partners, for our organizations, for our schools. And it's very hard to provide a long-term solution when we volunteers are band-aids ourselves. I mean, we are short-term solutions on a long-term level. So that is to say that I may have this great plan that could go for the next 5 years for our business incubator. I could set up the system so that my partner is set in his way as far as running his business or his operation. But if I leave in 1 year, that kind of reflects to my partner that I don't really trust it, that I'm not dedicated to stay here in the long term, and that's a huge problem. So there needs to be some way that the Peace Corps or the volunteers in general can continue to share knowledge, continue to build the right infrastructure so that when the new volunteers come in, they can almost replace us volunteers and what we have done. And I'm sorry to say this, but my only doubt with that is that coming in as a volunteer, I was always looking to go down my own path and looking to create my own solutions. So to pick up where somebody else left off as a Peace Corps volunteer doesn't necessarily look attractive. Overall, with what I'm saying, is that when we get to Storytellers, I really cannot wait to hear all of the successes, all of the failures, all of the ideas, all of the feelings beyond beyond what I've already seen, but just in other people's eyes, what they see for the country in the future. I want to reflect on everything that we have witnessed. I want to hear the stories from people that have been here over the past 20 years in the Peace Corps, and I'm hoping that we can take these positives and negatives and spin them off into usable solutions, not only for the short term, but for the long term as well as volunteers. So with that being said, I cannot wait for Storytellers, August 14th in Chisinau, Moldova. It's going to be great, and I can't wait. Let's go.